It was exactly 30 days until the college entrance examination, and the bright, blood-red number hovering directly above my head read 600. In my previous life, I had been a victim of this very number. I had discovered a bizarre phenomenon. Whenever I diligently practiced a test paper, my score plummeted by 10 points. Conversely, if I skipped class, played games, and fooled around, my score would inexplicably skyrocket. Believing I had unlocked some cosmic cheat code, I spent the last month of my previous life partying crazily, pushing that glowing number to a brilliant 710. But on the day the results were announced, reality hit me like a freight train. I scored a humiliating 40 points, while that glorious 710 miraculously appeared on my brother Shen Jingshu's report card. My parents were furious. Deeming me a hopeless waste of space, they threw me into a brutal electronics factory to fend for myself. That very night, I was beaten to death in a dark alley by a group of thugs. In my dying moments, as my blood pooled on the concrete, I heard my brother's mocking laughter echoing from the shadows. So what if I'd been pressured since childhood? I was still fooled by the score above my head. Only as my vision faded did I realize the sickening truth. My college entrance examination score had been completely siphoned and controlled by Shen Jingshu. When I snapped my eyes open again, the smell of rain and damp asphalt was gone. I was sitting at my oak desk. I looked in the mirror. I was back. It was exactly 1 month before the exam. Above my head, the bright red 600 hovered ominously. "Brother, let's do some test papers together tonight," a sickeningly sweet voice called out. I turned to see Shen Jingshu handing me a thick stack of mock exams. I looked at the paper, then at him, and tossed it straight into the metal fire pit by my desk, watching the edges curl and blacken. "The exam is coming. What's the point of studying?" I yawned, stretching my arms. "I want to play games." Instantly, the number above my head flickered and jumped to 610. Shen Jingshu pretended to sigh with deep regret, but as he turned away, I caught the unmistakable greedy upward curve of his lips. He thought he had me exactly where he wanted me. He didn't know this show was just beginning. I was about to return to my bedroom when he stubbornly grabbed my wrist, trying to drag me toward the living room. "The tutor is here. He is still waiting. Even though you have a good foundation, you can't be careless, brother." The lines were exactly the same as in my previous life. He was probing me, testing the waters to see if I still blindly believed in the floating score. I violently shook off his hand. "What's the use of cramming at the last minute? If you want to go, go by yourself. Don't delay my score, brother." I met his gaze and scoffed. "Don't worry, I can score higher than you without studying a single word." Watching his back as he walked away, struggling to suppress a victorious smile, my expression turned ice cold. "My dear brother, it is you who is careless in this life." Back in my bedroom, I locked the heavy oak door. The score above my head had now risen to 620. I pulled a calculus textbook from my shelf. The moment I opened it and focused on the first equation, the number flickered violently. 610, 590, 550. After reviewing just one major exam point, the score plummeted to 500. I immediately pulled out my phone and hacked into the tiny surveillance camera I had discreetly hidden in Shen Jingshu's room earlier that day. On the screen, my brother was pacing anxiously, biting his nails. "Why is Shen Jianxi's score dropping?" he hissed into the empty room. "This beast says he won't study, but he must be secretly cramming. How come I haven't absorbed any of his points?" A cold, mechanical synthesized voice responded from thin air. "What are you panicking about? Once his score falls below 500, the system will determine it as a critical violation and directly cause him to explode. If he wants to study, he's just asking for death." A violent chill ran down my spine. Cold sweat instantly soaked my shirt. I was dealing with a supernatural parasite, but Shen Jingshu just threw his head back and laughed. "That scum deserves it. Who told him to mess with my mindset?" Watching my score teeter dangerously at 500, I furrowed my brows. Since studying hard in a traditional sense was a literal death sentence, I needed to find a loophole to fool the system. For the next hour, I tried countless positions. I read upside down. I read while doing push-ups. But as long as my brain was actively processing the textbook, the score kept plummeting. As it hit 501, the numbers started flashing a blinding, violent crimson. My heart raced. I threw the book against the wall, grabbed my jacket, rushed out of the house, and hailed a cab to the loudest, most chaotic nightclub in the city. It wasn't until I was swaying on the neon-lit dance floor, deafened by the bass, that the score finally stabilized and rose back to 630. I collapsed onto a leather VIP sofa, gasping for air. On the surveillance feed on my phone, Shen Jingshu breathed a heavy sigh of relief, his face twisted with disdain. I knew Shen Yanxi was an idiot. Seeing the score rise must have driven him crazy with joy. Let him have his fun. What he thinks is his 630 will ultimately become mine. I turned off the feed and smiled coldly into the strobe lights. Fool. I have already found the system's bug. I tossed aside a piece of chalk and lay back on the sofa in the club's private VIP room. The walls and the glass ceiling were entirely covered in complex, sprawling mathematical formulas and physics equations. This was what I had truly accomplished all night. The system's AI was rudimentary. It determined my state based on my location. Because I was physically in an entertainment venue, it registered me as fooling around, so my score did not drop. even as I solved university-level theorems in my head. A waiter knocked on the door to remind me of the hourly room charge. I pulled out my phone and dialed my brother. Brother, I slurred my words, faking drunkenness. I'm stuck at the bar. Quickly transfer some money to rescue me. The bar? Brother? How did you end up in that kind of place? Shen Jingshu's tone was incredibly anxious, but I knew he was secretly thrilled. Just relieving some stress. Don't tell mom and dad. Quickly, transfer 15,000 over. The college entrance exam is coming up. Are you my real brother? I shouted, playing the part of the unhinged rebel perfectly. If mom and dad find out, I'll be dragged back to study. I'm begging you. I just want to have a few more days of fun. Within seconds, my phone pinged with a transfer of 15,000, his entire savings. With his money funding my VIP room, I comfortably secluded myself in the nightclub, studying advanced mathematics on the glass walls for an entire month. On the day before the college entrance exam, I finally returned home. I deliberately messed up my hair and kept my eyes bloodshot. Above my head, the score had skyrocketed to a dazzling 710. Shen Jingshu greeted me at the door, hiding his euphoric smirk as he handed me my exam admission ticket. Brother, you finally came back. Good thing you didn't miss it. You reckless fool. Why not just stay away? My mother's disgusted scream pierced my eardrums as she descended the stairs. Knowing they were fundamentally biased against me, her hatred still felt like a physical knife twisting in my chest. I managed a bitter smile, but before I could speak, my father crossed the room in 2 massive strides. Crack. His heavy palms slammed against my face, the force of the slap sending me stumbling into the console table. Shameless thing, how dare you smile? He roared. If it weren't for your grandmother insisting, you wouldn't even be allowed to take this exam. I covered my ringing ear, but he lunged forward, grabbing it and twisting violently. The sharp pain made me instinctively resist, only for him to drive his knee into my stomach. I collapsed heavily onto the hardwood floor. My father showed no signs of stopping. His kicks fell like heavy rain against my ribs and back. The exam is tomorrow. Do you want to kill the family's reputation? After messing around in a bar for a month, who knows what filthy diseases you've caught? He kicked me hard toward my bedroom door. I won't let you ruin us. Grandma said you both must take the exam. Otherwise, mentioning my grandmother was the only thing that made him angrily halt his assault. Going will only be embarrassing, he spat, turning on his heel. Covering my painfully torn, bleeding ear, I dragged myself into my room. The next morning, bruised and aching, I was sent to the exam hall alongside a beaming Shen Jingshu. After 2 days of grueling exams, Shen Jingshu bounded out of the testing center and rushed toward our waiting parents, his face radiant. I feel like I performed exceptionally well. Can we hold a celebration banquet on the day the scores are released? My parents' eyes overflowed with affection as they looked at him, completely ignoring me standing in the shadows with a bruised jaw. Since Jingshu is so confident, let's invite your grandmother too, my father boasted, so she can finally see who is truly the hope of the Shen family. All right, Shen Jingshu proclaimed. Even though grandma doesn't like me, I will definitely surprise her this time. Just then, the false score of 710 above my head shimmered and vanished completely. Looking at Shen Jingshu's arrogant back, I curled my lips. Brother, are you ready to open your mystery box? On the night the exams ended, my parents took Shen Jingshu on a lavish graduation trip to Europe, conveniently forgetting me at home. This allowed me to breathe a sigh of relief. I locked the front door and dialed a highly classified number. Uncle, I said into the receiver, I solved that S-level mathematics problem you gave me last time. There was a loud crash on the other end, followed by trembling breaths. Yanxi, you really solved it. You have no idea how much you've just helped the National Research Institute. That very night, an unmarked black government vehicle picked me up. For the next month, while my brother posted photos from yachts in Monaco, I worked tirelessly in an underground bunker alongside my uncle, a revered master of mathematics, deriving complex algorithms that had stumped the nation's top minds for a decade. It wasn't until the day the national exam results were to be announced that the institute sent a special armored luxury car to take me back to my family's grand celebration banquet. As I pushed open the heavy mahogany doors of the banquet hall, my parents and Shen Jingshu were surrounded by a sea of wealthy elites, being celebrated like royalty. What good fortune! Both sons are taking the exam, but the younger one is truly a prodigy. The Shen family certainly has a brilliant successor. I knew exactly why this crowd of socialites was really here. It wasn't just about exam scores. My grandmother, the true iron-fisted power behind the Shen family conglomerate, had made a public promise. Whoever among Shen Jingsu and I gets into a better university will inherit 100% of her controlling shares. Today was, essentially, the coronation of the new president. I ignored the whispers and walked straight toward the head table where my grandmother sat. The elderly woman's stern face softened instantly. She smiled and took my bruised hand in hers. Are you confident, my boy? I nodded firmly. I will never let you down. In this sprawling, venomous family, she was the only one who treated me with genuine sincerity. In my previous life, my failure had broken her heart, and she passed away from a fatal heart attack just 3 days after I was thrown out. This time, I would rewrite fate. Brother, why are you lying to grandmother? Shen Jingsu's voice cut through the hall, dripping with mock pity. You were partying in a nightclub for a whole month before the exam. How could you possibly do well? With grandmother trusting you so much, how do you sleep at night? He dramatically pulled out a glossy photograph of me asleep on the VIP sofa at the bar and projected it onto the main screen for all the guests to see. My father's disgusted gaze locked onto me. If I were you, I wouldn't even have the face to walk through these doors today. Jingshu estimated a score of 700. I doubt you can even score half of that. After today, the Shen family will belong to your brother, and you will live by begging him for scraps. The guests immediately adapted to the shifting winds, eager to flatter the assumed heir. I've seen young Master Shen Yanxi at the bar living it up. The exam was definitely a waste for him. How can he compare to Jingshu scoring 700? That's the potential of a provincial top scholar. If you can hang out at a club every day and still score top marks, what do we even need schools for? Laughter echoed through the crystal chandelier-lit hall. Everyone was waiting for me to become the punchline. My father snorted coldly, reached into his blazer, and slammed the key to a limited edition supercar onto the glass table. If you score better than Jingshu, this car is yours. I glanced at the key with utter disdain. It's just a broken car key. I thought the great Chairman Shen had more ambition. Since you think so highly of Shen Jingshu, do you dare to mortgage all your personal properties on his success? My parents were taken aback, clearly not expecting the family punching bag to challenge them so aggressively in public. The surrounding guests began to cheer, fueled by the drama. 700 points is a sure thing. What are you afraid of, Chairman Shen? A business rival goaded. Don't just say properties. My father yelled, his face flushing red. Even if I mortgage the entire Shen family, a piece of trash like you can't win against my Jingshu. I raised an eyebrow, my tone dangerously provocative. It seems Chairman Shen isn't so confident in his proud son after all. Who are you calling a rebellious son? Am I afraid of you? My father slammed his fist on the table. You will never surpass Jingshu in this lifetime. Shen Jingshu puffed out his chest, looking invincible. Dad, trust me. I will never lose to him. Driven by ego and the watchful eyes of the city's elite, my father called his corporate lawyer on the spot. Within 10 minutes, a legally binding document was notarized. Today, whoever gets admitted to a better school will legally claim all assets under my father's and grandmother's names. As soon as the ink dried on the contract, the National College Entrance Examination score-checking portal officially opened. Shen Jingshu rushed to the grand projector's laptop, his hands shaking with eager anticipation. Since everyone is waiting, I'll give my brother a demonstration first. His index finger dramatically hit the enter key. The web page refreshed, and his name appeared on the massive screen in bold letters. Total score, 700. The crowd erupted into a deafening cheer. 700. Absolutely amazing. Young Master Jingshu is definitely the provincial top scholar. Compliments poured in like a tidal wave. I narrowed my eyes, staring at the number. Indeed, that 700 should have been mine. My father shot me a look of pure venom. See? From now on, behave yourself in this house. You'll be a dog for your brother, living only on his mercy. If you dare hold Jingshu back, breaking your legs would be a light punishment. I haven't checked my score yet, I replied evenly. How can you be sure I'm the one being a dog and not him carrying my shoes? You arrogant bastard, my mother shrieked. Carrying shoes for Jingshu? You aren't even worthy of that. She lunged forward and slapped me hard across the face. The skin burned, but I didn't flinch. Shen Jingshu pretended to be heartbroken. Brother, is it so hard to admit you're useless? Why do you have to be so stubborn? If your score isn't higher than mine, you must kneel and bow to me to admit your mistake. He shoved the laptop toward me. Check it. Let everyone see your strength. Under the suffocating gaze of 100 elites, I calmly typed in my exam ID number. The web page loaded. The screen refreshed. Total score, 50. The massive banquet hall fell into a dead, suffocating silence. Then, it erupted into a burst of harsh, mocking laughter that shook the windows. 50 points, a guest wheezed, wiping tears from his eyes. Even blindly guessing multiple choice wouldn't result in a score that low. Is there wet cement in his brain? He'd bankrupt them in a week. All that arrogance. I thought he was holding back some grand master plan. Turns out he was just holding back a massive joke. Kneel down, Shen Yanxi, Shen Jingshu laughed hysterically. Not even 100 points. I think your brain is clinically defective. As the future head of the family, I will generously send you to the best mental hospital. But if you knock your head loudly enough on the floor right now, maybe I'll let you be treated at home. Make me kneel, I said softly. You won't be worthy of that in 1,000 lifetimes. Then help him, Shen Jingshu snapped to the security guards. With a silent nod of approval from my father, 2 massive bodyguards flanked me. One of them kicked the back of my knee with brutal force. A sharp pain shot up my leg, forcing me down onto one knee. I looked up at my grandmother. She was my last hope. But the old lady slowly turned her head away, her eyes clouded with profound disappointment. Yanxi, you have disappointed me too much. Grandma, the university admission results haven't come out yet, I gritted out. A low score doesn't mean I have no school to attend. This statement caused the laughter to escalate into outright howling. The university of staying at home? This is called a dead pig not being afraid of boiling water. Pure shamelessness. Oh, look at you refusing to kneel properly. Shen Jingshu mocked. If you don't bow to me now, how will I command respect as the chairman in the future? Before I could force myself up, my father's heavy leather shoes stomped down hard on my cheek, grinding my face into the carpet. Shen Jingshu looked down at me from above, his voice dripping with venom. You, Shen Yanxi, will always be a piece of trash beneath my feet. Don't be too happy too soon, I mumbled against the floor. Qingbei University might not want you. Huh, really? Shen Jingshu sneered. Open your dog eyes and look at the entrance. The Qingbei admissions officers have already arrived. I want you to watch from the floor as I shine, and on the day I enroll, I will personally drag you to the asylum to wait for death. Shen Jingshu adjusted his designer suit, pasted on a humble, brilliant smile, and strode confidently toward the group of well-dressed university officials entering the hall. However, just as he reached out his hand to shake the directors, his smile froze. The leading admissions officer didn't even glance at him. He walked straight past Shen Jingshu's outstretched hand, his eyes scanning the room. The good show had finally begun. The Qingbei admissions director walked straight through the parted crowd, stopping precisely in front of where I was slowly rising from the floor, wiping a drop of blood from my lip. Hello, Shen Yanxi, the director said, his tone incredibly respectful. I am the director of the Qingbei admissions office. May I ask if you are ready to sign with Qingbei University? The entire venue fell dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Shen Jingshu rushed over, his face flushed. Director, you must be mistaken. I am Shen Jingshu. I'm the one who scored 700. That is a waste who scored 50 points. The recruiting teacher frowned deeply and physically pushed Shen Jingshu aside. There is no mistake. We are looking for Shen Yanxi. I memorized his file before coming here. My parents were completely bewildered. Shen Jingshu turned pale, his mouth twitching uncontrollably. He absolutely cannot. He scored 50 points. Is Qingbei crazy? Are you actively recruiting idiots? Student, please mind your words. The director's voice boomed with authority. Shen Yanxi is a core member of the National Research Institute's S-Level Talent Introduction Program. Are you questioning the vision of the highest scientific authority in the country? No matter what score he received in the standardized test, even if it was a 0, as long as he breathes, the doors of Qingbei will always be open for him. This is a special national admission. A single stone had stirred up 1,000 waves. S-level talent? This kid was hiding his true strength. I knew the eldest young master couldn't be this useless. It turns out he gave up the exam because he was doing classified national research. The way everyone looked at me instantly shifted from disdain to awe. My grandmother's eyes widened. She pushed past the bodyguards, her hands trembling as she grabbed my arm. Yanxi, what they said, is it true? Yes, Grandma, I smiled gently. This past year, I have been working with Uncle's team to break through a mathematical bottleneck. We just solved it a few days ago. Good. So it turns out you were doing S-class projects while they thought you were playing around. Our Shen family has produced a true genius. The wind in the room instantly reversed. Oh, the old lady is truly blessed. A genius who doesn't make a sound until he shakes the world. The admissions director finally turned to look at the dazed Shen Jingshu. So you are the one with 700 points, Shen Jingshu? Before my brother could speak, the director nodded approvingly. Just right. Since you scored so high, you two brothers can sign together and look out for each other on campus. How about it? The media reporters who had snuck in started flashing their cameras like crazy. But Shen Jingshu jumped back like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. I don't want to go to the same school as him, he screamed, losing all composure. A 50-point fool solving research institute problems? There must be something fishy about this. If Qingbei accepts someone like this through the back door, I seriously doubt your academic credibility. The admissions director's face turned beet red with anger, but the surrounding crowd began to murmur in agreement. Indeed, how could someone capable of S-class research score in the single digits in basic science and math? Could there really be insider trading? Maybe the family bought the research results. Since my brother and everyone else are so curious, I said loudly, cutting through the murmurs. I also feel that my college entrance exam score has some severe issues. How about we apply for an immediate, high-level review of my exam paper right now? No, absolutely not, Shen Jingshu screamed hoarsely, his eyes darting around in terror. The process of reviewing an exam paper is complicated. You are just deliberately stalling for time. Only those with a guilty conscience would make such a fuss. Before he could finish his rant, several reporters shoved their smartphones in his face. Young Master Shen, the online sentiment is turning against you, a reporter yelled. Netizens are asking, you were the one who questioned your brother's credentials. Now your brother is actively requesting a public review to prove his innocence. Why are you the one having a panic attack? Shen Jingshu was instantly speechless, his eyes dodging the camera flashes. I was just trying to save him face. Isn't it embarrassing to broadcast a 50-point paper to the province? The admissions director ignored him and looked at me seriously. Shen Yanxi, are you certain you want to apply for the retrieval of the paper? This will initiate the highest level of government verification. I am absolutely certain. He won't shed tears until he sees the coffin, my father muttered. Pure self-humiliation. Shut up! Grandma suddenly slammed her heavy wooden cane against the marble floor. Her imposing aura instantly silenced my father. Within minutes, the tech team connected to the provincial education database. The massive projector screen flickered, and my digitized exam paper was displayed in high-definition 4K. The crowd gasped. There was no scribbled white paper. The handwriting was incredibly neat, powerful, and dense. Several senior professors from King Bay leaned in, their brows furrowing in astonishment. What is going on here? All the major questions are answered flawlessly. Look at this. Physics question has 3 separate, incredibly advanced methods of solving. How could this possibly only score 50 points? It's unreliable, the director muttered, furiously typing on his tablet. Although the system hasn't recalculated it yet, just glancing at the rubrics, this paper is starting at an absolute minimum of 700. Public opinion exploded instantly. The accompanying provincial technical staff immediately intervened, hacking into the back end of the scoring system. 5 minutes later, the horrifying truth was revealed on screen. It was found that there was an abnormal, targeted error code during the system input stage, the head technician announced into the microphone. Shen Yanxi's real, verified score is 706 points. He achieved full marks in advanced math and science. The room erupted into chaos. 706, he's the true provincial top scholar. My God, he almost drowned in false accusations. Thank God the Research Institute bypassed the system. Otherwise, this would be a catastrophic loss for the country. While everyone sighed in relief, I had no intention of letting the knife stop turning. I smiled coldly at the media cameras. Since the provincial system can make such a massive mistake, I said softly, I have reason to suspect that some other people's 700 points might also have severe issues. Don't push your luck, Yanxi, my father barked, waving his hand impatiently. Your brother has always had excellent grades. It's already chaotic enough. Shen Jingshu completely collapsed. He burst into ugly, snot-nosed tears, lunging at my legs. Why do you have to ruin me? Are you sick? Didn't you get what you wanted? You deserve every bit of this, I whispered down at him. My mother, however, crazily threw herself over Shen Jingshu to protect him, screaming at me. My father raised his hand, fully intending to strike me again. You vicious beast! Do you have to drive your own brother to his death before you're satisfied? This time, I didn't even bother to dodge. The heavy oak doors of the banquet hall crashed open, and a dozen uniformed police officers swarmed in. I pointed at the weeping boy on the floor. Officer, I want to officially report Shen Jingshu for colluding with unknown entities to tamper with federal college entrance examination data, a felony offense. My father roared and tried to assault the lead officer, but was immediately wrestled to the ground and handcuffed. What are you doing? Do you know who I am? If you want to interfere with an arrest, you can come with us, Chairman Shen, the officer warned coldly. Shen Jingshu was hauled to his feet, his face ashen, still frantically denying reality. I didn't cheat. It was a system bug. It was the system. I walked up to him, adjusting my cuffs. Brother, you must confess everything to get leniency. He was dragged away by the police, kicking and screaming for our parents to save him. Dad, save me! I don't want to go to jail. My parents immediately started screaming and thrashing, which deeply annoyed my grandmother. Officers, she said calmly, leaning on her cane. Please take this couple away for disturbing the peace. We cannot have them making a scene here. As soon as the wailing trio was removed from the premises, I officially signed the S-Class admission paperwork with King Bay. My grandmother, true to her word, summoned the corporate lawyers. Right there on the banquet table, she signed over 100% of her controlling shares of the Shen Group to me. She even assigned me her ruthlessly efficient personal secretary. Chairman Shen, the secretary said, bowing deeply. You may give me your first orders. I looked at the stack of asset deeds and credit portfolios that previously belonged to my father. Execute the following immediately, I ordered, my voice ringing out clearly. Transfer all physical properties and estates into my personal name by tomorrow morning. Freeze all corporate and personal bank accounts under the former chairman's name. They will not take a single penny from this company ever again. Terminate all business partnerships with anyone in this room who mocked the Shen family's new chairman tonight. I walked up to him, adjusting my cuffs. Brother, you must confess everything to get leniency. He was dragged away by the police, kicking and screaming for our parents to save him. Dad, save me! I don't want to go to jail. My parents immediately started screaming and thrashing, which deeply annoyed my grandmother. Officers, she said calmly, leaning on her cane. Please take this couple away for disturbing the peace. We cannot have them making a scene here. As soon as the wailing trio was removed from the premises, I officially signed the S-Class admission paperwork with King Bay. My grandmother, true to her word, summoned the corporate lawyers. Right there on the banquet table, she signed over 100% of her controlling shares of the Shen Group to me. She even assigned me her ruthlessly efficient personal secretary. Chairman Shen, the secretary said, bowing deeply. You may give me your first orders. I looked at the stack of asset deeds and credit portfolios that previously belonged to my father. Execute the following immediately, I ordered, my voice ringing out clearly. Transfer all physical properties and estates into my personal name by tomorrow morning. Freeze all corporate and personal bank accounts under the former chairman's name. They will not take a single penny from this company ever again. Terminate all business partnerships with anyone in this room who mocked the Shen family's new chairman tonight. My biological mother had been pregnant with me when my father started a torrid affair with the woman I grew up calling Mom. Driven by the stress of the betrayal, my biological mother fell severely ill and passed away shortly after giving birth to me. My father, feeling zero guilt, immediately moved his mistress into the house and married her. No wonder their hatred for me was so pure and unapologetic. No wonder they endlessly favored Shen Jingshu, their actual child, together. And no wonder my grandmother had always looked at them with such cold, disguised disgust, favoring me in secret. I want to marry you, Chairman Shen, Wen Xining said smoothly. A strong alliance to swallow the southern market. I closed the folder. I'm not interested in marrying you just to help my brother's former accomplice. However, if you are willing to testify in federal court against Shen Jingshu regarding the cyber tampering, I can consider granting the Wen Group a 2% profit margin on the new Southern City Development Project. Wen Xining was a brilliant businesswoman. She chose the money. With her undeniable evidence, the chain was perfectly closed. Shen Jingshu was sentenced to 2.5 years in federal prison for severe academic fraud and cybercrime. During those 2.5 years, I did not rest. I completed a dual degree at Qingbei University ahead of schedule while simultaneously expanding the Shen Group's market territory by double. I became the youngest, most ruthless billionaire in the province. 2 years later, when Shen Jingshu was finally released from prison, what awaited him was not a fleet of luxury cars and bouquets of flowers, but 2 parents who had long since been reduced to stray dogs. Without access to the company's funds, my father had lost everything. His temper had grown violent, and he drank cheap liquor all day in a dilapidated apartment. Shen Jingshu, thinking he could still rely on his bloodline, tried to storm the Shen Group headquarters to demand money from me. The security guards I arranged didn't even let him through the revolving doors. They beat him with batons and threw him into the gutter like a sack of garbage. Humiliated and broke, Shen Jingshu returned to the slum apartment and vented his fury on his parents. "It's all your fault, you useless old things," he screamed, smashing a liquor bottle against the wall. "You couldn't even keep the company. You just sat back and let that wild seed ride on my head." My father, deeply intoxicated and furious, backhanded his precious son across the face. "You ungrateful wolf, who do you think we became like this for? If you weren't so incredibly stupid, we'd still be rich," my stepmother shrieked, pouncing on my father and viciously scratching his face with her unkempt nails to protect her son. The argument devolved into a bloody, physical brawl. In despair, my father packed a bag, proposed a divorce, and repeatedly returned to my grandmother's heavily guarded estate, falling to his knees and begging for mercy. He was refused at the gate every single time. Shen Jingshu, terrified of losing his father's meager remaining pension, his last refuge, hired a few desperate street thugs. His plan was just to scare my father into coming back to the apartment so he wouldn't abandon them. But fate has a funny way of echoing the past. On the rooftop of the slum building, the confrontation went horribly wrong. My father, drunk and belligerent, insulted the thugs. The thugs, high on cheap drugs, acted recklessly. In the scuffle, my father was accidentally shoved backward. He plummeted 5 stories, dying instantly on the pavement below. The thugs, terrified that a murder charge would ruin their lives, realized Shen Jingshu was the only loose end who could tie them to the crime. That very night, they tracked Shen Jingshu down. In a dark, filthy alleyway, the exact same alleyway from my previous life, Shen Jingshu was stabbed 23 times. He bled to death on the cold concrete, alone and terrified in the dark. My stepmother, having witnessed the tragic, gruesome deaths of both her husband and her beloved son within 24 hours, snapped completely. She went irreversibly mad on the spot, screaming at the sky, and was permanently committed to the state mental hospital. The day I heard the news on the radio, I was not at the office. I was holding a beautiful bouquet of white chrysanthemums, standing quietly in front of a pristine white marble grave on a quiet, sunlit hill. The photograph of the woman on the tombstone was gentle and beautiful. Her eyes were strikingly similar to mine. The sunlight broke through the heavy clouds, illuminating the cold marble. "Mom, look," I whispered softly, placing the flowers down. "The truth is finally out. Those who harmed us have received their retribution." The wind blew gently through the pine trees, rustling the leaves as if releasing a long, peaceful sigh. I stood in silence for a long time. Then, I stood up, adjusted my tailored suit, and turned to walk toward the sleek black car parked by the roadside. The revenge that had consumed 2 lifetimes was finally over, but the brilliant, unburdened life it left for me was just beginning.